I've been learning a lot of science and physics and chemistry, biology, medicine, pharmacology, um, computer programming, machining, engineering, chemistry, lab equipment, quantum medicine, quantum physics, mathematics. Um, I'm a patient. I live in poverty. I'm trying to get out of poverty by creating something in the world that makes the world a better place. I'm well experienced in the woes of life. I've had many problems in my life. And my IQ is above average, and that's all I'm going to say. But I want you to know that my personal experience is very valuable. Because what I have learned about the world is that it makes a lot of mistakes. The world makes a lot of mistakes. You need to know this. Everyone does. Okay? And I want everyone to challenge and contradict all information and come up with a conclusion. And I want to give you a piece of advice. The origin of all universes is simply geometry. And that's all you need to start with. The origin of all universes is simply geometry, and it becomes algebraic. It's all distribution of geometry. These are what we know as particles. Particles are what we're made of. Particles are subatomic. They're in quantum fields like magnetic fields and gravitational fields. They're in light fields. They're in any kind of particle field. They make up atoms, chemicals, biology, systems, stars, everything. Geometry is the origin of all existence. Actually, there's a law that nothing can exist without volume. No object can exist without volume. Okay, so space is nothing. It doesn't exist. That's what we think right now. You may challenge that. But if it's permeable, we can't find any particles in space, it doesn't exist. So how can Einstein be right about any interaction of space-time when space doesn't exist? It can't interact with anything. It doesn't exist. And time, the definition of time is the motion of objects. Doesn't matter what the object is. It's nothing but the motion of an object. Okay, I want you to go from this information and challenge everything in your life. I want you to know that there's going to be mistakes in everything that you do, especially medicine. Medicine is filled with mistakes. There are bogus medicines all over now. There's bogus therapy, bogus treatment, bogus predictions, bogus statistics, bogus sciences. But there may be some truths as well. There are some truths. So ask yourself, what is true, what isn't, what is false? Can you prove it? Can you actually make a graph or any kind of legal representation to prove what you know about the geometry of existence? That's your question, is that, can I prove it? Can I prove what I know to be true? The thing is the measurements required are very difficult, quantum, and expensive. And there we have in place at this time in 2022, here December the 10th, 2022, we have labs and physical shops and all kinds of things. We got Fermi labs, we have hospitals, we have science research labs. They have all kinds of stuff out there. And we can clearly see what's true, but what is it at the end of the day, the big picture? Look at the big picture, the small glance of a portion of the big picture is going to say, yeah, this is totally successful, it works. But you know what? And at the end of the day, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, the big picture is telling you that everything inside is going to fail. You're faced with a future that's going to end up becoming a failure. For one, you're running out of energy. For two, the human body is so difficult to manipulate that you're guaranteed to die someday. We want to challenge this, don't forget. Energy. We can't figure out how to make energy perpetual or even renewable. Well, we can create a long-lasting renewable energy, but it eventually will someday cease to exist. Actually, the earth itself is going to eat itself. It's going to slowly break. It's breaking now. We don't know how long we have. The sun is eventually going to explode. So ask yourself, how can we manage to sustain a life in this God-forsaken place? This horrific event that is ever so quiet and pleasant among all the little peers and people. It's just peaceful as could be. But does that mean it's going to be okay? You can be as happy as you want to be. But that doesn't mean that it's okay. That doesn't even mean that you're right about anything. And that doesn't mean there's a God. That doesn't mean that there's a demon. That doesn't mean there's any good thing whatsoever. It seems like a bunch of fools running around trying to survive. It almost looks like frantic retardation. You know, people change a lot. They go through changes in life. They end up having struggles at some point in their life. And we start seeing deeper into the big picture of how life really works. We become what we call experts. Even if it's just one thing that you're an expert in or multiple things, you're eventually going to become an expert. But the problem with these experts, and even myself, is that we come to a conclusion that we do not know enough. There's always more. There's always a reason. And especially, it's our life, our body. That's the ultimate reason, us, ourselves. That's the ultimate reason. First, we need to take care of ourselves. Then, we need to take care of everything else. How can we save the planet? How can we save the sun? Particles. Like I told you, it's all just geometry. All you're really doing is manipulating geometry in a system. It's that simple. It's just moving geometry around. It's nothing more and nothing less. Even if there was a God, or heaven, or hell, all it really is moving geometry around. You can't be anything more or anything less. So, do you think we could move the geometry around? Do you want to move the geometry around? Is it possible? Without losing the self. Will we lose the self when we move the little geometrical particles around? The law says nothing can exist without volume. No force, no energy, no particle, no nothing can exist without volume. Every interaction that occurs is an exchange of volumes, is an interaction of volumes. As a matter of fact, the universe may actually have cubed particles, or maybe polygons made of even smaller cubes. We don't know. We can't see particles very well, because our smallest particle has no way to really get in there in the nooks and crannies and butter up your bread, if you will. So the system itself is a bogus piece of crap. It was never right to begin with. The geometry of the particles and how they work in a system was never right. But someday it may. Like, you need to know that you're absolutely certain of this. That geometry is pretty much written in stone. What do we know about the particles of geometry? We know very little right now. We know some. It's not enough. What you need to know is that there may be other particles that we can use to make measurements with. And that would lead us to a different position, a better position. There may be particles smaller than light. We're not certain of this yet. Or there may be a set of combinational physics with different particles that we can use to derive information of what particles are and what they do. So this is pretty much it. Our whole life rides on this. Geometry and particles. And accuracy. It's everything. Peace.